Hey folks, it's Nick with the Allen Turner Home Team. I am here to give you a January update for the Metro Atlanta housing market and highlight 5 things you should know. So as we started 2023 kind of in a state of rebalance, a lot of buyers and sellers were unsure of where the market was headed and just kind of were remaining cautious, wanted to see how things were shaking out. So let's see how things started shaking out in January. So once again, this is the greater Atlanta area, which is what I always focus on. You know, the main counties around Metro Atlanta, Fulton, Forsyth, Cobb, DeKalb, all these right here. And because it's a January data, both of these columns are going to be the exact same, so I can just focus on one of them. So that's what we're going to do. So in January, thing number 1 to look at here is sales price. You can see the median sales price and average sales price were both just slightly up, right around 1% up from last January 2022 to January of this year 2023. Might not sound like a lot, up 1%, but you got to remember over the past few years we have had astronomical price growth, so that's just kind of slowly starting to slow down. Now you may have heard over the past few months as well that prices and the market and everything was slowing down and all that kind of stuff. And while the pace was slowing down for sure, and prices were coming down with it from where they were earlier in the year, I want to show you this. This is a 5-year chart of the median sales prices in the same greater Atlanta area, so the same data set. Starting, this is January of this year, 2023, all the way back to 2018. And you will see, just looking at this past year, so we peaked right here, kind of June, July was the high point of the market. And then we trended down to here we are for the January numbers that are out so far. So again, it came down for sure, but look back at the last 5 years. That is not an uncommon thing. Sorry, this thing's going to keep getting in my way. If you look here at January, that's a low point. Then we went up to June, July. We peaked, came right back down to this January. Same exact trend, up to July, back down through the winter. Started our ascent again right here, up. Now this was when COVID hit. So 2020 was totally weird. We didn't really have that same lull in July, August, September that we usually do. So we just kind of kept trending up. But again, we kind of hit a little lull right here in January of 21 before we started going up. And then we kind of peaked in 2021 July. Now, instead of coming down like normal, this was still the crazy market. So we kind of just stayed where we were through the rest of the year. And then again, from January on through June, we were kind of trending up before coming back down. So it's not uncommon that prices have come down in the second half of the year. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here, but historically, it looks like we will kind of go up slowly through the first half of the year. So January prices were up just a little bit, which is good, which is great, because prices were not cheap last January. So we're holding firm there. Now, number 2 thing I want you to know, interest rates have definitely been a factor. Certainly were a factor near the end of last year. They are currently right around the 6.5, 6.625 range, something in that. Obviously depends on the individual person, but they had gone up into the 7%. Now through January, through the kind of second half of January, the rates started coming down, and they got down, like I said, around 6.5, maybe even a little lower than that for a little bit. And that was the lowest they had been since September of last year. So the minute that happened, kind of the second half of January, we saw a quick increase in the craziness of the market again, started seeing multiple offers and stuff again. So the buyers are out there, and just a little bit of change in the interest rate caused a lot more activity to happen right away. So I think some of that will show up in February numbers, but we don't have those quite yet. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But interest rates right now are around that, like I said, mid-6s, 6.5, 6.625% range. Number 3 thing to look at, the number of closed sales, way down this January compared to last, down about 38%. Still had 2,000 closed sales this January, so nothing to scoff at. But, again, last January was weird. Interest rates were still very, very low. It was kind of that COVID market that started in, mid-2020, just was bull rushing everything through mid-2022, really. So we didn't have that historical slowdown last January that we typically do. So this decrease is not unexpected. Again, the fact that interest rates had gone up to the high sixes, low sevens definitely was a factor in that. Like I said, buyers and sellers both were kind of looking at, they were a little uncertain about where things were going, wanted to just see how things shook out. Also, remember, it takes about 30, 40 days for a house to close from when it goes under contract. So you're talking about homes that went under contract in December or very, very early January, closing in January. So again, we were not competing, but we had Christmas, we had Thanksgiving going on, New Year's. You may or may not remember UGA won a back-to-back national championship in the beginning of January. So a lot was going on. So this was not totally surprising, but it is, a 38% decrease in the number of closed sales from last January. Number 4 thing that I think is probably the most important thing to keep an eye on moving forward is the inventory we have out there. And there's 2 parts to this. Number 1, if you just look at the amount of homes on the market for sale, there was just 7,700 homes for sale, which was 44.5% higher than last January. So that's great, right? We've been bemoaning the lack of inventory out there for a long time. So the fact that we have a lot more options is great. But the problem is, and you'll see, and I've talked about this a lot, look at this. The actual new listings that came on the market in January was down 15%. And this has been a trend. New listings seem to consistently be lower than they were that time last year. And so what's happening is the homes that are sitting on the market keep sitting on the market. So this number's going up or staying high, but it's not because a lot of new homes are getting listed. What we're seeing is new homes get listed, and if they are, like I said all the time, if they're priced right and they're in good condition, they're selling right away because there's not a lot of, there's still 4,000 new listings in January, but comparatively, there's a lot fewer new options coming on the market. So the good ones priced right, done well, are selling right away. And then if you just happen to either be overpriced or not in great condition or whatever the case may be, if you're sitting on the market for a couple months, it seems that homes just keep sitting on the market. People aren't excited about those homes because they have more options generally than they have been having. So this right here, though, the new listings on the market is the thing I think is the most important data point kind of moving forward that will tell the tale of our market for 2023. And a big reason for this kind of staying low is that a lot of people over the past couple of years, tons of people, not a lot, tons of people have either bought a new home or they refinanced their current home when interest rates were, down at 2.5%, 3%, those very, very historical lows. That's where people were refinancing, buying new homes, selling their existing homes to get those really, really low interest rate mortgages. So the fact that interest rates are now in the mid 6%, they were up at 7%, wherever they kind of seem to settle in this mid to high 6% range. The incentive for those people who have a current 3% interest rate, it's just unless they need to sell, which people always need to sell, whether they're moving or they have a kid or they're downsizing, upsizing, getting relocated, whatever the case may be, those people will always buy and sell. But over the last couple of years, we just had a lot of people selling because they were capitalizing on the fact that interest rates were so low. Now that they're back kind of in a normal, more of a normal interest rate, people aren't just selling to sell anymore. So this will be interesting to track moving forward because while we do have a lot more inventory sitting around, we still need that constant influx of good inventory hitting the market. So hopefully, now that interest rates are kind of stabilizing, people will feel confident that they can buy and sell their current home and buy another home. But keep an eye on this, and I will keep harping on kind of where we're at with new listings every month because I think that will tell the tale of how many closings there are, just the general activity of the market out there. So point number 5, no matter if you're thinking of buying or selling, it is a great time to do it, okay? Let's talk about if you're thinking about selling, first of all. I just showed you there's not a lot of exciting new listings hitting the market. We're trending down on the amount of new listings coming on the market. So if you have a great home to sell and you price it well and it's in great condition, it's going to sell quickly. Like I said, the buyer demand is still very strong. And even with just those rates dropping a little bit over the past few weeks, we saw multiple offers coming right back. we saw just a frenzy back out there again. Now, it wasn't that crazy frenzy of a couple years ago, but it was a frenzy nonetheless. So, historically, spring is the main time to sell your home. That's when you also have the most competition to sell your home. So, might be smart to go ahead and get a jump on that before more competition enters the market, while the amount of new listings is still pretty low and buyer demand is still very high. Now, if you're thinking of buying, it's a great time because I just showed you prices have come down pretty significantly from June through January. Where they're going to go from here, we're in early February now. Where they're going to go, nobody knows. All we know is what we know right now. But the fact that the same home might have been listed $25,000, $30,000 higher in June than it will be now is a great incentive for buyers. And there are more options on the market. You saw that the inventory is a lot higher than it was. But just, the consistent new listings is lower, but inventory sitting on the market is higher. And buyers have a lot more leverage now. I've said this a lot recently too, than they did have. Buyers are able to keep all their contingencies, be able to inspect and ask for, repairs, negotiate repairs and things like that. Things we haven't seen in a couple of years around here. So, it is a great time, even with the interest rates being where they are, which 6.5%, it is what it is. Not the worst thing in the world, I can guarantee that. So, anyway, whether you're buying, whether you're thinking of selling, give us a call. We would love to help you out. You can reach me at 770-490-1427. You can reach D. Allen at 678-206-6041. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're here at the Allen Turner Home Team. Follow us on Facebook. Send us a message wherever you can. We are here to help you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.